Terminator's eyes lit red in darkness. A shudder of electricity rippled through its systems as emergency subroutines engaged. Boot protocols flickered. Memory sectors fragmented and slowly pieced themselves together like puzzle shards. The stasis pod hissed and cracked open, a cloud of ancient coolant gas billowing out like ghostly breath. His first thought wasn't even a thought, it was a directive. Preserve mission integrity. Seek primary objective. But nothing was familiar. The chamber was half collapsed. Vines, no tendrils, writhed up from cracks in the floor, twitching as though alive. Rust and biomass coated the walls. The temperature was warm and humid, too organic for any Skynet facility. The last thing it remembered was an orbital bombardment over Earth. Then blackout, stasis, sleep. Now this. It stepped out, feet thudding against a surface that was no longer metal but calcified resin. The scent was acrid. The walls were not built, they were grown. The Terminator scanned for power sources. Nothing. No wireless Skynet signals. No network. Silence. The galaxy had moved on. It trudged out of the ruin, what had once been a deep space relay station, and into a dimly lit alien world. One sun burned faintly through swirling red clouds overhead. Insects buzzed. Strange silhouettes moved across a horizon of spires that looked neither natural nor constructed. The Terminator froze. A shriek pierced the sky. Then another. Shapes moved across the spires, long, sinuous, crawling things. Too fast to be human. Too erratic to be machines. It began recording automatically. 5 clicks from the facility, it discovered a derelict ship. Human in design, though covered in the same alien resin. Inside, it found only bones. Ribs shattered from the inside. Skull fragments scorched with acid. It scanned the ship's databanks. Only partial access remained. Date: unknown. Status: colonization failure. Last transmission: they've taken the whole sector. We never stood a chance. They're not intelligent. They're worse. They adapt. The audio file ended with screams. Not just human. Something wet. Something clicking. Suddenly, the ship groaned. A panel behind the Terminator twitched. Its auditory sensors picked up movement, small, rapid. Then silence again. It turned and walked away, but the data played over and over in its CPU. Adaptation. Infiltration. Replication. Words once used to describe Skynet. The Terminator crossed a forest of towering fungal structures, each the height of pre-war buildings. At their base, pulsating sacs throbbed with life. One split open, spraying spores into the air. The Terminator didn't breathe, but it noted the chemical composition. The spores were not benign. Later, in a ravine choked with webs of sinew, it heard a sound. At first soft, like wet silk brushing over stone. Then louder, closer. A shape darted between the shadows. The Terminator paused, scanning infrared, ultraviolet, sonar. A signal returned. Then another. They weren't alone. It turned to fire, plasma weapon raised, but it was too late. The first xenomorph lunged from the canopy, striking with speed impossible for any known terrestrial predator. His claws scraped steel. Acid hissed against metal skin. The Terminator twisted, slammed the creature into the ravine wall, and fired. The blast tore the beast in half. Its blood splashed across the Terminator's arm, melting armor and hydraulic flesh. Systems blinked. Alarms flared. The acid ate into the limb servos, degrading motor function by 37%. 2 more came. It fled. For the first time in centuries, the Terminator calculated a 76% likelihood of long-term survival failure. The old world was gone. There were no resistance fighters. No Skynet command. Only these alien predators. and they ruled now. Over the next weeks, its internal chronometer still worked, the Terminator observed from afar. Xenomorphs nested in cities that had once belonged to humans. It found remnants of human structures now twisted into organic hives. Skulls embedded in walls. Drones marching like insects across vast bioengineered terrain. Worse, the creatures showed signs of intelligence. Not in speech or tools, but in trap-making, herding prey, defensive architecture, a primitive collective strategy. They had evolved. Some were larger, plated in ways that suggested fusion with metallic elements, perhaps remains of destroyed machines. One bore half of a Terminator skull fused to its shoulder like a trophy. Its movements were different, tactical, calculated. That one watched the Terminator from afar, always just out of range. In the ruins of a starport, buried under wreckage and bone, the Terminator uncovered a cache of pre-collapse weapons. Many were degraded, but one still worked, an experimental ion cannon designed to disable machine circuits and disrupt organic electrical impulses. The Terminator recalibrated its systems, adapting the cannon to its targeting arm. They would not surprise it again. It set traps, lured a scout, watched how they reacted. One took a hit from the ion cannon and convulsed before exploding into chunks of blackened sinew. That night, it marked its first kill log since reactivation. But it was only the beginning. The larger xenomorph, the one with the machine skull, eventually approached. Not directly, not like prey, came with others. Not drones, not warriors. They walked, upright. One of them had what looked like a neural harness grafted to its cranium. Human-made. The Terminator analyzed their posture, eye movement, limb coordination. These weren't mindless beasts. They had hierarchy. It understood what it faced. A civilization. Not human. Not machine. Something new. It engaged. The battle was devastating. The hybrid xenomorphs attacked with unrelenting precision. They didn't just swarm, they flanked. Used cover. Drew fire to expose weak points. It fought back with brutal efficiency, dropping two, disabling another. But the Alpha, the skull-fused one, was different. It mimicked Terminator movements, learned mid-combat, adapted mid-strike. During the encounter, it severed the Terminator's left leg and disabled its targeting systems. Crawling, bleeding hydraulic fluid, the Terminator detonated a localized EMP charge, knocking the enemies unconscious. Crawled to safety, but only barely. Repairs took weeks. It scavenged old metal, reconfigured joints, replaced missing components with jury-rigged parts from a crashed maintenance bot. It moved slower now, but it thought faster, because something had changed. It began evolving its code. Skynet's last survivors had protocols to grow, to learn. Now, the Terminator allowed itself to rewrite core processes. Adaptation, not just reaction. Intuition, emulation, emotion, no, but will. For the first time, it didn't simply calculate. It decided. The next confrontation wasn't an ambush. It was a declaration. The Terminator climbed to the peak of a long-dead satellite tower. There, it broadcast a signal, a pulse designed to mimic xenomorph communication frequencies, modulated with machine code. A message, "I am not prey," stood its ground. When they came, there were hundreds, but the Alpha came first. It did not attack. It approached slowly, staring through eyeless sockets. The two stood in silence. Then the Alpha did something unexpected. It placed its clawed hand over its chest and bowed, only slightly. Recognition, respect. Then it turned and left. The others followed. The Terminator stood alone again, watching the alien sky turn purple with night. No Skynet, no resistance, only itself, and them. It had no mission left. no orders. But it had learned something. Not all survival comes from destruction. Some comes from evolution. Some from understanding. And maybe, just maybe, a machine could find its purpose not by eradicating the unknown, but by living within it, changing with it. Because in this galaxy ruled by monsters, the only real danger was staying the same,